Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, so glad everybody could take the hour. Very excited that you were able to join, and really excited about the Outdoor Equity Fund that we'll be sharing with you today. Before we get going, I know we have very busy lives, so just wanted to take a moment and to ground together in this space very briefly. Our work is so much about community, and this is a new community that is forming, and you all are a part of that community. And so just want to take a moment to ground, helping us to be present with each other in this space, time set apart a little bit from our days. So maybe just encourage you to, however you do, maybe to sort of find your feet on the ground, take a moment if you need, close your eyes, and just invite everybody to take one or two deep breaths, just to help us, be present here for the next hour. All right. I invite you to come back into the space with us today. Thank you. Want to mention that we will be recording the meeting today for you to be able to review afterwards, but also there's a lot of people that have reached out interested, and we'll have this recording available to them, to your colleagues, to be able to review afterwards. Want to take a moment to introduce ourselves as the leadership team of the Outdoor Equity Fund. We've been working on this for a while now and really excited to bring it to you. So I'll start. My name is Julian Rowand, and I am with Maine Initiatives. I am the director of Grants for Change program at Maine Initiatives, and also a part of the Outdoor Equity Fund leadership team. And I'll pass it to my colleague, Ashley.
Thanks, Julian. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Ashley Balco, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Community Organizing and Engagement at Maine Initiatives, and also co-lead on the Outdoor Equity Fund. So I'll pass it to you, Anthony.
Hey, y'all. My name is Anthony Jackson. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Equity and Organizing Coordinator with the Nature-Based Education Consortium. You also see pictured here Red Fong, who was a part of the early development of this program as well.
And Desiree Vargas as well, also part of the early leadership team. Want to acknowledge we've got some other members of Maine Initiatives and NEPEC on the call with us today. So really a group of people have been working on this for some time here. So quickly to just go through the agenda for our hour together. Doing a little welcoming now. We'll spend a minute, just a little housekeeping and how to engage. For those of you maybe less familiar with Zoom, we'll take a moment to do that. Introductions, we'd love to give a moment for you to get to know who else is in the room here and in this community doing amazing work around outdoor equity. So we'll take a moment for that. We'll speak a little bit about philanthropy. This work is connected to philanthropy, so there's some acknowledgement there that we feel it's important to bring into the space. We'll give an overview of the fund. We'll talk about eligibility, evaluative criteria, things that you're probably curious about. We'll go through the application, the steps of applying, and then we really want to leave a good amount of time at the end for your questions. And to that end, if you have questions that come up during this session, please feel free to put them in the chat. We will bring those back up at the end, but also at the end today.
Thanks, Julian. And I just wanted to give you all a few notes about how to engage with us today. We're going to be asking you to engage in a couple of different ways. You can unmute, start your video in the participants list. You can rename yourself if you want to, and also raise your hand. Chat function. Also on the same bar, you will see 3 dots and more if you'd like to turn on the captions for a live transcript. To raise your hand, you can use the participants menu tool or option Y or Alt Y on your keyboard, type star in the chat or *9 on your phone if you're driving. And if you're on the phone rather, and if you are driving, please feel free to email us questions after. No need to engage if you're driving and you can't do that safely. So, all right, I'm going to pass it over to you, Anthony.
Thanks, Ashley. So this is Anthony speaking again, and I'm just going to share a little bit about what the Nature-Based Education Consortium is. And so what it is, it's a collaborative, multi-generational network of youth, educators, outdoor learning advocates, and other impassioned community members who are working together on system-level efforts to ensure that every youth has equitable access to powerful outdoor learning experiences. And go to the next slide, please. And so how do we do that? How does it get done? It's done through working groups. So we have 4 different initiatives right now. One focused on local outdoor learning, so local advocacy. The other on climate education advocacy, which is focused on climate education policy at the state level. Stories for Change, which is a working group that focuses on sharing stories to shift the narrative of who is involved in outdoor learning and what that looks like. And then an outdoor equity working group that focuses on reducing the barriers for marginalized and targeted communities. It's essentially a container for collaboration. Go to the next slide. And so this is the approach to the work that NEBIC uses as a system level approach. And there are 6 conditions of the systemic problems, like structural, policy, practices, resource flows, relational, relationships and connections, power dynamics, and then transformative mental models. So about 3 years ago, the idea for the Outdoor Equity Fund developed at a network convening. And as NEBIC considered how to address the systemic problems that are listed in bold, so practices, resource flows, relationships, and power dynamics, we decided that an outdoor equity fund might be something we would like to approach. And that led to exploring possibilities of partnering with a funder that also aligned with our values as a network. And that's how we came to partner and co-host this outdoor equity fund with Maine initiatives. And I'll pass on over to you, Julian.
Thank you, Anthony. So this is Julian again speaking. Yeah, we saw this as a perfect partnership, right? A little bit about Maine initiatives. We're a participatory grant-making organization. We see our work as a network of individuals supporting greater social, economic, and environmental justice in Maine through informed, intentional, and collective philanthropy. We have a community-based approach to philanthropy that really prioritizes and we think honors the voice, vision, values that each person can contribute to the pursuit of justice. And we hold that center. Our model is extremely relational. We see ourselves as organizers, and we do our work through, and next slide, please, Ashley, through a number of different programs and funds. So Outdoor Equity Fund is our latest fund that we're excited to be launching right now. The Grants for Change program, which we wrapped up for the year at the end of the year. So really excited about that program, obviously. Immigrant-led organization fund as well, which works with immigrant-led organizations here in Maine that our colleague Shima Kabarigi directs. About a year ago, we partnered with Maine Share, which is a workplace giving fund. This spring, we'll be launching the Giving Project, which is donor organizing around community organizing. So really excited about that coming up. And we also manage a few donor advised funds. Yeah, just to sort of focus in on our work, our main initiatives are broadly, our work is focused on racial justice, and that is community informed, community led. We use a participatory model, democratic, community-based decision making. And as I mentioned, we prioritize relationships. So we see our work as relational, as dynamic, as co-created, with the understanding that money is insufficient to affect the change that we all want to see, right? So this is why we do the organizing broadly in community around the incredible work that you all are doing in community. So now we want to give an opportunity for you to get to know each other and a little bit. We're going to do a short breakout session here, groups maybe of 3 or 4. So we're going to ask you to, I know you've put it in the chat, but in the room, just introduce yourself, your name, pronouns, maybe where you're located right now, and any organization affiliation that's relevant to share. And with about a minute or less, try to keep it within a minute so that everybody has a chance to share, to speak to what brings you here today. Why are you in the room? Why are you interested in the Outdoor Equity Fund? What brings you in the room today? And then we'll return and hopefully you'll get a chance to meet somebody that you haven't yet. Again, in this community that is forming around outdoor equity in Maine. So, Ashley, are you
Ready?
in a place to? All right. So we'll have you go to those breakout rooms and then join us back in about 5 minutes.
Oops. Sorry, Julian, did you assign the breakout rooms?
I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on a minute here. Let's see. Sorry, I'm gonna have to, Anthony, do you mind trying to do the breakout room?
Yeah, I can try to get the breakout room set up.
Thank you.
Let's see. Why don't maybe while Anthony's doing that.
I think I'll be good. I think if I just open up the rooms, we should be good to go.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Maybe we work on that and go to Ashley, if you maybe want to speak to just philanthropy.
Sure.
For a moment here, and then we can work on those breakout rooms.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay. So this is Ashley talking. We as a leadership team and as a fund just wanted to make a statement that acknowledges philanthropy and its legacy of harmful practice. So NEBEC and Maine initiatives recognize that this process of applying for funding and being in connection with entities and those in close proximity to power, privilege, and wealth can be harmful and is vested in a legacy of white supremacy, colonization, slavery, and genocide. This legacy persists today within all systems and institutions, including philanthropy. And we acknowledge our attempts at anti-racism work in creating and administering the Outdoor Equity Fund within the systems are imperfect, right? And that said, I did want to just turn everyone's attention throughout the presentation to some of the examples of how we are attempting to address inequity and white supremacy. And this includes the community-led approach and aspects, community-led aspects of the fund, such as incorporation of a community advisory committee and a BIPOC grant-making advisory committee. Also a focus on Black-led and Wabanaki-led organizations, as well as accommodations that recognize cultures with oral traditions, translation and interpretation for those who don't speak English as their first or primary language, and coaching for low resource and newly forming groups. So we're going to turn it back over to you, Julian, to start the breakout rooms.
Yes, I thought I had them. Sorry. Yeah, I thought I had folks in rooms. Yeah, give me maybe one more minute here. Oh, I think we got them. We got them. So, yeah. Did that happen?
I made it work. I made it work.
Woo!
We didn't click the automatically assign, so we would have had to assign them individually. So I went back
It
in and
like,
just made it.
okay, it like resets. Thanks for being able to work with that.
Yeah, of course.
Does somebody, and maybe because we were also both working on them, does somebody want to manage the closing it up? Did you, maybe you should do that?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll give yeah. Can we make maybe just kind of, yeah. All right, well, I think we should be good.
Okay.
Some people might have 2, some people might have 3. All right, cool. We made it work. Then breakout rooms will get you.
Man, they always get you. Yeah, sorry, Julian. I don't know if that was some
Oh, it might have been because I left and came
misunderstanding.
back.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Because
That's
yeah,
probably what it
anyway,
was.
it's all right.
Cool.
We made it work. We made it work.
Did it work? Breakout rooms.
Can you send a message to everyone? Oh, that's just here. Yeah, we'll call it good. So close the meeting, maybe another minute. How much time do you think we gave them? It's probably been 2 minutes. So maybe at like 12:25, I'll close it, then I'll give us 60 seconds.
Yeah, and Anthony, do you feel good about jumping in to slide 16 and just kind of transitioning from the breakout room?
Yeah, I'll transition to breakout room. I'll do the ask people to put their hands up, put the thumb up, whatever, if they met someone new, and then I'll just get right into the description of the Philanthropy Fund.
Man, I got to do something about my computer. Like,
Yeah.
it just where I can't have Zoom, like even I just have my browser up and Zoom, and that's it. And it's like choppy.
Joanna
So,
could get you a new computer.
all right. Man.
We might have to, I wonder if this might be recorded, so might have to do a little video editing.
Oh yeah, it is very easy to edit a recording.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close the room. They'll be back in 60 seconds.
I can drop the PDF in the chat for you, Anthony.
Okay, thanks. Hello, welcome back. It was a short little session. The breakout groups never seem to go long enough, but I hope y'all were able to meet some new people, be able to get in. Just welcome everybody back. Just get a minute while everyone comes in here. And I think that may be everyone. So yeah, I hope you got at least a couple of minutes to talk and chat with the people who are here today. Like Julian said, we're just trying to start in a community around this outdoor equity. And I just wanted to give a chance if they want to put a thumbs up, an emoji, some sort of reaction if you were able to meet someone new today, like that you haven't met before. So a little thumb, a little dance, something, just to see if you met someone new. All right, okay, let's see, we got some people meeting some new peoples in here. Okay. All right, I like it. So we'll go ahead and get into what this outdoor equity fund is about. So to give just kind of a description, an overview of the outdoor equity fund, the purpose of the fund is to improve safe, equitable access to outdoor spaces, increase opportunities for nature-based learning for Wabanaki, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Probably use the term BIPOC throughout this meeting, you might have heard it already. And in recognition that BIPOC communities experience systemic and institutional targeting that prevents safe access to these spaces, the fund will make grants to organizations focused on addressing and finding solutions to these issues, and will prioritize organizations led by members of the community served. If you go to the next slide, this is and also this is Anthony speaking. So aspects of the participatory grant making. So you've heard that Maine initiatives use participatory grant making. So what kind of does that mean? Design of the fund is informed by a community advisory committee of 7 community leaders in the sector, and the grant making decisions are advised by a grant making advisory committee of 11 to 15 BIPOC community leaders in the sector. And grantees can join a cohort learning community that can inform the gap in equity in the outdoor learning ecosystem. If you go to the next slide, thank you. So some kind of the details, some more overviews of like the structure of the funding. The 2023 Outdoor Equity Fund will provide 3 years of general operating support to a cohort of 10 groups. So the groups selected for the 2023 cohort will each receive $10,000 per year for 3 years of unrestricted funding. And in addition to funding, like I mentioned, they'll be able to join a learning cohort that grantees will be invited to participate in peer learning, training, capacity building, and community outreach activities over the course of the grant period. Next slide, please. And so what kind of work might be eligible? And just to give some examples, so groups who work to advance outdoor equity in the following areas are welcome to apply. So land-based cultural continuation and preservation, land back and land return projects, leadership development and mentoring, farming and gardening programs, outdoor accessibility development, outdoor expeditions such as hunting, fishing, and hiking trips, outdoor learning or environmental education, including school-based experiences, and then therapeutic and trauma-informed nature programs. And we do just want to note here, the Outdoor Equity Fund team is also interested in groups whose work is advancing outdoor equity in new or important ways that may not be captured in this list. So we still encourage you to apply. So eligibility criteria. So to be eligible for the 2023 Outdoor Equity Fund, the applicant group must be working exclusively or primarily in Maine, unceded Wabanaki territory, be a Black, Brown, Indigenous, Latin, Asian, or people of color-led organization, group, or coalition. All BIPOC-led and serving groups may apply. We are prioritizing Black and Wabanaki organizations for 2023. Be doing work that advances outdoor equity, be a Maine-based organization, group, or coalition, alliance of groups. We do not fund individuals. And then have an operating budget under $1 million, not required for groups that are applying with a sponsorship from a Wabanaki tribal government or other tribal entity, or for groups whose fiscal sponsor budget exceeds that amount. So next slide. Some more about the eligibility criteria. To establish BIPOC-led status, groups need to meet at least 2 of the following criteria for the past 2 years. And that's having BIPOC directors or specific program leaders, so leadership roles that are 50% or more. Having BIPOC board members or governing decision-making roles, also be 50% more. And having BIPOC activists, so the on-the-ground community change makers, be 50% more. So you'd have to qualify, meet 2 of those for the last 2 years. And to give you some more information about the process and everything here, I'm gonna pass it on to Ashley.
Hey everyone, this is Ashley speaking, and I'm going to talk about grantee selection. Yeah, a grant making advisory committee of 11 to 15 BIPOC community leaders from the outdoor learning sector will vote in a democratic process to decide which organizations will receive funding based on the evaluative criteria outlined. And just to note that Maine Initiatives Board technically has the final say. And my understanding and experience of my coworkers is that the grant making advisory committee's decision are held unless there's a technical or legal reason why not. So we just want to be transparent about that as we talk about the grant making. A little bit about how those grant making advisory committee members are selected. The leadership team will select 15 of those who apply to the committee based on recommendation from the 7 of the community advisory committee members, and also knowledge of philanthropy, relationships, and knowledge of nature-based learning and strong collaboration skills. If you're interested in applying to be a member of the grant making advisory committee, we welcome that. And I just want to be clear that you can apply and be selected to be a grant making advisory committee member, as well as have your organization apply and receive funding through the Outdoor Equity Fund. So I'm going to shift a little bit towards the evaluative criteria. Let's see. The grant making advisory committee will be using this criteria to make their decisions. We want to highlight intersectional work, groups who work within and among marginalized communities will receive preference. Relational work, groups that center and prioritize relationships with the people who do your work, employees, volunteers, etc., as well as participants, partners, and others served by the work of the group will receive preference. Sustainability of the work, and this can encompass a broad array of strategies, including youth learning and leadership development, training for community leaders, etc. Nature of the work, groups that will receive special attention in the process are those who incorporate trauma support, holistic health and healing, groups supporting youth, groups reclaiming and reintroducing nature connections or experiences for those who haven't had them or wouldn't otherwise be able to have them, groups reclaiming land and or pursuing Indigenous sovereignty related to land and space, and groups creating safer outdoor spaces for their tribe and or community served. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Julian, to talk about the application.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. And just want to reiterate that all of those evaluative criteria, those were created in discussion with our community advisory committee. So, really from your peers and folks in the community, help to create what you just saw in terms of all of the criteria and this fund. Want to just get a quick sense of, for those in the room, if you've had a chance to take a look at the application. So maybe just a quick thumbs up if you have seen the application, maybe you've read through it, but at least familiar with it, just to get a sense of like, is this something that you've seen? Great. Okay. Yeah. Good. So not new. For some of you, but maybe this will be the first time for some of you. So we're just going to do a walkthrough of the application. Oh, actually, maybe if you could go back to full screen for it.
Sorry, hold on one second.
Oh, yeah.
Try to make it a little bigger because on the slide,
Sure.
It's a little bit, there we go. A little bit.
So this is while Ashley's pulling it up and scrolling through here, this is a fillable PDF. So we do recommend downloading Adobe. reader, which is free, to be able to fill this out. It'll make it really easy. Just want to underscore, applications are due by 11:59 p.m. on February 10th. So February 10th is the deadline. Part one, so the first page and a half is really overview, general information about your organization. The mission statement, try to keep that 3 sentences or less. You all are doing amazing work. There are places, there's going to be a whole section where you will be able to talk more about your work, but that's just for the mission statement. Yeah, if you keep scrolling down, instead of including a budget, we just have you include some items from your budget figure at the bottom of page 1. Sorry, Ashley, kind of jumping around. Great. So operating income, expenses for the last 12 months, and anticipated operating income for the next 12 months. Yeah. So what else? Yeah. Again, general information about your organization. Part 2 is the legal or fiscal information about the organization. Again, applicants are required to either have 501c3 status or a fiscal sponsorship. So this is where to include that information. Part 3 is about your leadership, and also speaks to some of the eligibility requirements. In terms of the first question there, does your BIPOC group identify as led by? And then we invite you to select all that apply for that. And we also include space there to self-describe if none of these capture how you as an organization define that you're led by. Space for leaders in the group, and also partnerships. And we would ask, these are active partnerships with groups that you're working with. Part 4 we see as kind of the heart of the application, and this is really where you get to speak to your work and what you do. And we've tried to keep this as simple as possible. Our goal with the application is to make it as minimally burdensome as possible. We know that this process can take time. And so we want to try to make this as simple as possible for you, but also to really give the grant making committee a sense of your work. So we've included here 3 questions. And just generally, the questions are about, like, what is your why? Why do you do this work? The next question is about who you are as an organization. And the last question is about what do you do as an organ? What are your actions to achieve your mission and vision? Part 5 is optional. And again, this sort of ties back to the way that we orient around work. We see this work as relational, and our goal is to organize the broad community around the incredible work that you're doing. So part 5 is optional, but this is an opportunity for you to share, in addition to funding, other needs, resources, or tools that you may be seeking from community to better do your work. And again, this is optional and won't be evaluated with the application. Let's see. I think that is it. So in terms of the sort of steps to apply, thank you, Ashley. First, we would just ask you to check if you're eligible or not. And if you have questions about your eligibility, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And some of you have already done that, so really appreciate that. We welcome having that conversation. You can reach out to us at the email address here, oef@nebecconsortium.com, with any questions specific to your unique situation. And we would ask too maybe at the Q&A, if you do have those specific questions regarding your organization, just reach out to us directly. instead of maybe at the Q&A at the end here. Probably easier just to talk about that directly. Download Adobe Reader if you do find that you are eligible. We recommend reading through the entire application before starting, because there may be something at the end there that you might be trying to answer at the beginning, but that's actually better put towards the end of the application, something like that. But read it through completely first. You're here at the information session, which is great. But if you have colleagues, we'll have this recorded and we'll share it out so that you will be able to share it or to review again if you'd like. And finally, you can submit your application using the fillable PDF. Make sure to save it. You'll be prompted to save it and you can save it as you go. You don't have to complete it all at once, but when you are done, review it. You can email it to us again at that same email address, oef@nebecconsortium.com, or on through the website. We have a bit.ly link where you can also submit the application.
Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure we leave enough time for questions. So I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly, and you can ask questions about it either now or via email. So we have some support that we're offering throughout this process. For example, we're offering oral applications in recognition that the written word has limitations for people and cultures. If you'd like to complete the application via phone, you can make this request via the OEF email. And just gonna go, oops, oh geez, sorry.
Ashley's just demonstrating how to send an email to us.
Yes, in case you needed to know how to send an email, apologies for that.
No worries, Ashley.
We also have language support in recognition that there are additional barriers to applying for those whose primary language isn't English. So in an attempt to mitigate some of those barriers, we're offering the option to work with a translator and interpreter. Again, email us those requests. And application coaching. Again, we recognize not all groups have the funding or capacity to hire or employ staff grant writers or consultants. So this is particularly true for new and forming groups. For all of these accommodations, we do ask that you send us an email request. They won't impact your application negatively in any way, but we do ask that you submit those requests by January 27th, which is next Friday, to ensure that we have time to organize and accommodate that for you. Okay, I'm gonna pass it back to you, Anthony.
Thanks, Ashley. So this is Anthony speaking. And one thing about the application coaches I did just want to clear up is that these Grant application coaches, they are not grant writers. They are coaches who could give you guidance and be able to assist, but they are not grant writers who will like write the grant on your behalf. I just want to have that clear. But so as we get into the space, we're going to get into the Q&A section. But first, I just wanted to kind of get a gauge on how people are feeling in the room. So if you could please put a number in the chat that corresponds to how knowledgeable you feel about the Outdoor Equity Fund application process. So in the chat, if you are completely confused and you don't know what to do next, you would put a 1. And then if you understand exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to move forward, and the next step is clear as day, you're going to put a 5. So if you could now, between 1 and 5, put in the chat how you feel, how knowledgeable you're feeling about the Outdoor Equity Fund. Appreciate it.
Oh, hey.
All
Okay.
right. Seeing 4 and 5, seeing 4 and 5s, I like that. All right. Okay. We ain't got any 1s out. We don't have any 1s out here, so that's good. That's good. Okay. Yeah, feel free to continue to add those to the chat if you haven't yet. But right now we're going to open it up for questions. So we welcome all questions like throughout this process. So this won't be the last chance you'll get to ask a question. So if you have a question that's like very specific to your particular situation, or something comes up later on, reach out to us. We do want to have this space be a question for some more general questions that come up that could benefit the whole group. So right now, if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat or raise your virtual hand, and we'll just answer them as we come. And yeah, feel free to especially if you were on the lower end of that scale, if there's something that you think would help clear up for the rest of us and give you some more clarity, feel free to put your hand up or enter your question in the chat. Okay, hearing some crickets out here. So what I will do then is still feel free to raise your hand if you have not yet. We shared the application earlier, but I also want to make sure that if folks have not yet accessed the request for proposal as well. Okay, so we do have a question from Sarah here. So the word group is used often in the application. Are you using that word the same as organization? I think, yeah, so we're using group because if someone applies and is either using a fiscal sponsorship, it might not be recognized as an organization, or or like is a tribal entity. That I don't think organization would actually accurately defines what that group is. So that is why we use the group. So I appreciate that question there. And so what I was going to do just really quickly is also share this here, the request for proposal that you can view and download at this link here. If you have not yet, please feel free to check that out. That will have things like the eligibility criteria, the evaluative criteria, and a lot of the things we covered today you'll be able to find in that request for proposal right there. And if anything comes up that you have questions, this is the space now to do it, or feel free to reach us at the OEF at nbeconsortium.com email. And I'm not seeing too many more questions, but Julian, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I see one more question. And it was sent, I think, Jacqueline. Was saying, will you send the RFP on our email boxes, or is it downloadable from your website? It is downloadable, the application on the website, both in terms of NEBEC and also on Maine Initiative's website. So yeah, it's downloadable there.
And what you might see is if the PDF pulls up on your browser, there should be 3 dots in the top right corner that you can click on, and then should allow you to download.
Great question from Yvette. I can read this out loud. Just want to know when the final decision would be made. Thinking about when outdoor activities could be planned and enjoyed most spring, summer. Great question. Anthony, you want to speak to that decision making?
Yeah, for sure. So the grant making advisory committee that we mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were here earlier to hear about that, but it'll be 11 to 15 BIPOC community members who are in the sector, and they will be meeting on March 10th and on March 17th to advise on where funds should be awarded. And then from there, we will be doing outreach. So by the end of March is when folks will be let know about the decision. All right, when is the deadline to apply for the grant making advisory committee? So the deadline to apply for the grant making advisory committee would be by, actually, I don't know if we put a solid date yet down. We'll get back to you on the deadline. I would say before the application closes is what I will say, that for right now, like definitely before the application closes. So February 10th.
And I will say that application process is like only a few questions in a survey. It's very easy and straightforward. So if you are interested, email us, and it's helpful to us to do that as soon as possible. Oh, looks like Emma has another question in the chat. Does the eligibility requirement of less than 1 million budget reflect the organization's budget or program budget?
Sure. Happy to, Emma, great to see you. Happy to speak to that. That will be the organization's budget, the 1 million. But happy to also have like a more specific conversation with you too. There may be some considerations around if there are some of your operating budget or if some of your budget isn't tied to your operations, there may be some conversation around that, but happy to, we can hop on the phone and have a more specific conversation about your situation.
All right, any more questions that are coming to mind, either on the application, the support services that we're offering, or any of the evaluative criteria? Just want to leave some space here for y'all. Well, I think this is great. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anybody hands up. So, I mean, we have 5 minutes left, but I think from here, we'd just like to, thank you all. Once again, feel free to reach out to us at that, at this email that's listed on screen, the oef@nbeconsortium.com. Any questions? I know I'm one of the people who we'll look at something and then think of questions as soon as we get off the screen. So if you're that kind of person too, feel free to just contact us at this OEF email. And yeah, just appreciate everybody here. I'll pass it off to Julian.
Yeah. Just really grateful for everybody taking the time today, and hopefully this clarified it if you needed it. And just really excited to be forming this community around outdoor equity with you in the room. And looking forward to, please reach out again. Important dates to remember, January 27th. Reach out if you want to talk about submitting your application orally or a translation, interpretation, or application coach. February 10th, that's the main deadline. That's the deadline for applications. March 10th and 17th will be the grant making advisory committee decision making retreat. And then you can expect to hear from us in terms of communicating by March 31st. All right. Well, thank you for taking the time today, and so grateful for all the work that you're doing in community, and for being in community with you here around this work. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day and your week. Great to see you. Thanks for joining.